Well, we may soon learn what was going on behind the scenes at the State Department in the days after the attack on the American consulate in Benghazi, that terror attack where 4 Americans were murdered, including Ambassador Christopher Stevens. The House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, the chairman of that committee, Issa, is now issuing subpoenas for emails and other communications from key State Department officials who helped shape the administration's talking points after the attack. In a letter to Secretary of State John Kerry, Chairman Issa accused the department of withholding documents on the scandal. Joining us now, Oklahoma Congressman James Lankford. He's a member of that House Oversight and Government Reform Committee, and he's joining us live from Oklahoma. Congressman, nice to have you with us.
Thank you.
So let's just jump in. The State Department says they've given thousands of documents. You have critics coming out saying that the House GOP is on some sort of fishing expedition, that you don't really know specifically what you're looking for. So tell us what you are looking for, Congressman. What specifically are you looking for in these pages?
The largest issue is how do we prevent this from happening again, and how do we put processes in place to prevent this? This specific set of subpoenas deals with some of the talking points. Victoria Nuland, in some of her documents, said the people in her building didn't want some of these talking points out and didn't want to make some changes to things. Well, then all the documents, excuse me, that were dumped by the administration don't actually reference all the people in her building up the food chain from her. They dumped a bunch of documents that were not relevant to actually what everyone was looking for. So this is no different than a normal legal proceeding when you say we need the documents and they send over the documents that help them, but not the documents that give the full story. We just want to get the full story. All we really want is the facts to come out. Let the facts speak for themselves, and let's move on. Let's get this resolved.
So they have until next Friday to turn over the documents. Right. Walk us through a few scenarios. What happens if they don't?
Well, here's the challenge. We actually have the Eric Holder under contempt of Congress right now because 2 years ago, this same committee requested all the documents on Fast and Furious. They did their own internal investigation. They gathered all the documents that they needed to investigate themselves, and then they won't turn those documents over related to Fast and Furious to our committee. That's not appropriate. That's not legal. Our committee has oversight over their agency. They have to turn those over. This is the exact same thing again, where the administration has done their own internal investigation, and they said, we've gathered all the documents. We'll give you the documents we want. We won't give you the documents we don't want you to have. They just need to turn everything over. The administration is making this harder by continuing to drag it out month after month and then just trickling documents out. They keep this story going. They can get this resolved and we can move on to the other issues at hand if they would just turn over the documents that are relevant and let them go.
Well, you mentioned holding the Attorney General in contempt. Would you consider doing the same for top officials, including the Secretary of State, if they indeed do not turn over the documents?
Right now, we just subpoenaed the documents. We assume they're going to turn those documents over, and we'll keep moving from there. We've asked for those documents. They haven't turned them over. We're now subpoenaing those documents. We expect them to turn it over. We have to be able to learn from this and to move on. In 1998, when the bombings occurred in Kenya and in Tanzania, the State Department put in specific criteria to say, okay, here's how we protect our foreign dignitaries on the field. Those criteria were not fulfilled in Benghazi, were not even done in Tripoli. The facility in Tripoli and in Benghazi didn't meet the minimum standards that we were supposed to have learned from in 1998 when our embassies were attacked. If we don't actually learn all the facts and get everything done, we're going to repeat this cycle all over again. Well, so we have to get all the facts on the table.
You're talking a lot about accountability, and that's something that a lot of our Fox News correspondents have looked into when it comes to this case. In fact, we had some exclusive reporting that the White House, the government, knows who murdered our people in Benghazi, but for some reason is not going after them. Based on not wanting to repeat this again and trying to do the best to prevent any sort of attack that even resembles this remotely, how do you think this next step by your committee is actually helping to bring those very individuals to justice?
Right. Well, the Accountability Review Board was supposed to bring some of those things in a very limited scope. They had a few selected questions that were given to them. They helped pursue those questions, but not the bigger picture. So here are the basic things that we know at this point. We know the facilities didn't meet the minimum standard for security that was set in 1998 and 1999 in Benghazi or in Tripoli, either facility. We know they had asked to keep the level of security they had, but that was taken away from them. They couldn't even keep what they had. It's not a matter of adding more. It's just keep what they already have. They were told no. We know there was no military contingency plan to come in and protect them at the time that they did have a problem. So They didn't meet the minimum standards. They didn't have the security they asked for. There was no military contingency plan to come protect them in case there was a problem. We have a great deal to learn, and that includes the communication behind the scenes of what they were trying to do to be able to resolve this and to be able to respond. So the days leading up to it, what happened during it, and immediately afterwards, all of those things are very important for us to be able to learn the lesson and to be able to put things into practice. We have great people serving all over the world that are serving the United States and representing us well. We owe them and their families the most basic thing, the appropriate level of security for the position that they're in. That was not done in this case in Libya. It needs to be done for all of our other personnel.
Well, Congressman, we look forward to following up with you once you get a look at these documents, if that indeed does happen. Again, by next Friday, that's what we're looking for. That's the request for the subpoena.
Right.
We appreciate you joining us while you're in your home state and look forward to talking to you in Washington, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.